So finally, we're here. I can talk about the Suicide Squad game a lot more. We got a trailer that seemed to be very solid, and I liked everything that I saw. Now, many of you know, and I'm not going to sit here and fake it, I never really have been a Suicide Squad fan in any rank. At any rate, it doesn't really appeal to me much. But here's something. You can be an adopter of something that you may not necessarily be a fan of. Because most of the time, not being a fan of something just means you probably have very minimal exposure or knowledge about that thing. And I think in that sense, that's probably where I stand more on the Suicide Squad. Or let me say, that's probably where I stood on the Suicide Squad before the first announcement at the last DCFandome event. Since then, I've been perusing around, looking at comics, watching animated series to try to figure out what this entire story and entire plot line is about. And I have to say, there are some exciting things in it for me. Not everything, I haven't adopted everything yet, but those that I've adopted, I really say yes, these seem to be solid pieces of this entire Suicide Squad puzzle. Now, what are these pieces? Character-wise, I think the character selection for the Suicide Squad in this game, in my opinion, is very appropriate. Now, you may wonder, like, how do you mean appropriate? Well, number one, they're setting the game in the Arkham world. So they already have Harley Quinn in this particular Arkham world, which is already a blast. Harley Quinn has always been a favorite character of many of the Batman fans. I don't think there are many Batman fans who do not appreciate the character that Harley Quinn gets to play. And to see her right now in the Suicide Squad is actually pretty cool. And then you also have Deadshot. So for just the fact that these two characters appeared in Batman games, I think they already are welcome into whatever it is that is coming into this particular game. Then you have Killer Shark, who has just a very crazy sense of humor. And then you also have Mr. Boomerang. And these characters, I think, in a sense, from what they're showing us in the trailer, they seem to, number one, have chemistry and they gel. You see, Rocksteady, I think, have a very smart way of presenting their video games. Ladies and gentlemen, when they first did that first trailer, if you guys remember, it was showing the dynamic between these characters. The second trailer also showing the dynamic as well. If you watch the other Suicide Squad animated series or you read the comics, there's a lot of animosity between the squad. But Rocksteady seems to want to harmonize them because they're going to need it. They're fighting the Justice League. And I think that's something that would really be exciting for fans. So you think about it, and that's amazing. If we pivot to the second side of this discussion, you have to also consider the characters that we saw. We saw Flash, who was initially teased at the first DCFandome event. I thought that was a very interesting way to present him. He was talking to them, he was addressing them, and he's going to provide them with a heck of a challenge to deal with. We also saw the Green Lantern. I did not expect to see the Green Lantern. I know he's also a member of the Justice League, but in a trailer like this, I didn't even know what to expect. Yeah, we saw Superman again. We didn't see Batman nonetheless, and I'm hoping to see him in light. I don't know if he's probably going to be the final boss. I mean, of course, if anybody wanted to actually be, fair and be objective, you would think if the Justice League have turned, then, Bats is probably going to be the final boss. Or he probably didn't turn. He probably maybe dodged. And he's probably going to be, speaking and helping with the Suicide Squad and guiding them on how to defeat the Justice League. Because, he's the mastermind, Mr. High IQ Bruce Wayne. And then another really interesting thing was, I think I saw Wonder Woman. Now, to me, I think this coalition is getting more and more interesting when you look at the entire in quote, rogue gallery, because at this point, the Suicide Squad are kind of the good guys. Even Amanda Waller's speech in the beginning telling them that, you guys are the worst of the worst, but you're good at what you do, but what you do is actually not good. If you understand that kind of little philosophy that she played, I thought that was actually a really interesting way to introduce these characters to the, to the audience, to say, okay, you guys are basically the last, I would say last line or last lifeline that we feel we can utilize to at least try to take down the Justice League in whatever capacity that they've become evil. But you kind of pair all these things, pair these two dynamic areas together, which is basically what Rocksteady is capable of doing, and which is basically how they've presented the game to us. I think we're in for a solid shooter game in a sense. And you know, for somebody like me I've been playing Tom Clancy's The Division for so many years, about 5 years. I think the Suicide Squad may take on the nature of a game like that, kind of a 4-player, goal objective where you actually go into missions and, you know, take out bad guys, but at least will have its own base storyline. So games like these will have its, 25, 30, 35-hour mission structure, and then end game activities all through the road. And I think Rocksteady can actually nail this. As much as people may say, well, that PvP side of things, that co-op of things, or did I say PvP? I meant to say co-op side of things, could probably, be a deterrent factor. To that, I want to say, well, at least Rocksteady has shown that they're actually a very solid studio in terms of quality. And I think if anything, we have to just look forward to whatever quality it is that they bring. I think the biggest factor, or the biggest point of concern, should be the publisher. And I think that's where people should be worried about more than anything else. But for quality, I think Rocksteady is going to deliver. But I'll stop here for now. I'll take my time, hopefully soon in the next few days, and do a detailed breakdown of the Suicide Squad and, the trailer and some of the things that we got to see. And I think this is going to be exciting nonetheless. But I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening to the video. Hopefully we'll talk soon. Peace out.